Hi, my name is Stephanie Tolley, and I'm going to be presenting on oral history. In this presentation, I'll cover a number of items including what is oral history, the limitations and accuracy of oral history, the differences between oral history interviews and other types of interviews, the Oral History Association and their role in setting standards, Studs Terkel, who's often cited as the godfather of oral history, the May 4 Oral History Project going on here at Kent State, and finally StoryCorps, which is an independent and non-profit oral history project whose mission is to honor and celebrate one another's lives through listening. I'll let Sue Johnson, history lecturer at the University of Worcester, get us started on what is meant by oral history.
So, you've used oral histories quite a lot. Can you tell me firstly what's meant by oral history?
There's two explanations really. First of all, I think we can say that it's a technique for gathering evidence. It's very simple and straightforward. And I think the other one is that it's actually oral testimony is spoken history. And it's first-hand recollections of people's unique memories and lifestyles. So if we think about it in those two ways, there's quite a lot of depth to it.
So when you say oral testimony and oral history, are you talking about two slightly different things?
Not really. I mean, we could have a third one. We could say oral tradition. And oral tradition are the stories that are passed down amongst peoples who don't necessarily have a written history. But we're not talking about that here. I think what we're talking about is oral testimony, which leads or helps us to reconstruct the past.
Oral history is collected by conducting interviews of people who had first-hand accounts of events or specific time periods. Because these people don't need to be the rich and famous, oral history is often considered the history of the common person, but we'll look at that a little more later. In today's modern world, oral history also includes the process of recording the interview, preserving that recording, and then transcribing the interview, because these interviews are likely to be part of a bigger oral history project. Oral history projects are the collection of interviews on a specific topic that can be issue-related, event-related, autobiographical, intergenerational, and even more. It is important to understand that there are limitations and accuracy questions with oral history. The biggest limitation of oral history may be time itself, because the nature of a personal interview means that we can only go back one lifetime with oral history. Another issue that arises with collecting oral history is that not every interview will be a 100% accurate rendition of the past. Over time, memories fade and they change, so we're not necessarily looking for a quantitative data measurement with oral history as much as we are looking for qualitative data. An easy way to understand oral history projects is to compare them to their counterparts such as documentaries. Lots of journalistic endeavors use interviews to tell a story, but the difference is that in an oral history project, the interview itself is the story, whereas in a documentary, that interview is often manipulated to fit the creator's agenda or point of view. You can't talk about oral history without mentioning the Oral History Association. According to their website, they seek to bring together all persons interested in oral history, and it provides to its members professional guidance and a collegial environment for sharing research. In addition to fostering communication among its members, the OHA encourages standards of excellence in the collection, preservation, dissemination, and uses of oral testimony. To guide and advise those concerned with oral history, the OHA has established a set of goals, guidelines, and evaluation standards for oral history interviews. This is important because it helps create interviews that are as complete, verifiable, and usable as possible, and it discourages inadequate interviews and the misuse of history. I would encourage anybody interested in oral history to check out their website, read the evaluation guidelines, and take a look at their wiki as well. Studs Terkel is a true pioneer and perhaps the most famous oral historian of our time. He is considered to be the godfather of oral history because of who he chose as his interview subjects. Oral history had long exclusively focused on prominent figures, but Studs interviewed everyday Americans to record their experiences about work, the Great Depression, and his beloved city of Chicago, among many other things. But don't just take my word for it. Here's Studs Terkel on who he finds interesting.
I'm interested in those who shed those other tears, those millions and multi-millions and millions of people down through the centuries who made the wheels go round but never make our traditional history books. We hear of generals, we hear of kings, we have industrialists, great statesmen, but who are these others? And in a sense, that's the theme. So Working, for example, the book Working, what is the life of a teacher like, or a farmer, or a mason, or a carpenter, or a small businessman, or a checkout counter clerk, or a welder, or a hooker, or a housewife? Basically, these are more or less my figures.
Kent State Special Collections and Archives has its own oral history project going on about the May 4, 1970 shootings on our campus. The project seeks to collect, record, and provide access to oral history accounts pertaining to this event. The interviews have been made online to allow greater access and also to protect the original interview tapes. Please go to the Special Collection website to learn more about the project and to listen to these interviews. StoryCorps is an independent, non-profit oral history project whose mission is to honor and celebrate one another's lives through listening. StoryCorps and NPR have collaborated in creating a new holiday tradition called National Day of Listening on the day after Thanksgiving. This is an answer to Black Friday in hopes of getting loved ones to sit down and talk to each other about their past. Other initiatives of StoryCorps include memory loss, September 11th, lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgendered people, African American history, Latinos, and more. To learn more about StoryCorps, please go to their website.